Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 9th day of July 2024, and we're so happy that you're here today. So today we have John Tater on, Tatar Tuesdays, at 9 o'clock this morning. We're talking about legal defense notices and the proper lawful process that we all need to learn. At 10 o'clock, we have Sheriff Richard Mack on. He is part of the constitutional let's see. I always forget their name here because hang on a minute. He's a Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. There you go. I had to just go through that once. And he's going to be on today. I like Sheriff Mack a lot. He's really nice. I got to know him a little bit at John Rich's house, and he gave me a pin, a sheriff's pin, and I got to pin John Rich. It was really cool. So he's going to be on at 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, I have Russ Voss on. Russ is from Byron Township, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm pretty well getting sick of this whole Byron Township crap that's going on here, because they are dead center in what an example of what usurpation looks like on a local level. And you know what, we're getting together a group of people, and I think we're gonna put them on notice here, because they're doing some really bad things. First of all, they broke a couple of election laws in my case when I went to FOIA the election records or our electronic poll book, and they decided not to comply with that and admitted to destroying election records before the time was up, because Jonathan Brady told them so. And so we still have a problem with that there. And then now when you hear the story about what happened to Russ, you'll see what these little straw hat bureaucrats look like and what they do to destroy local business as well as land. This goes back to them hiding a tax bill on me to try to grab land. And I know, and I will say that it was, you can say that, well, maybe it was intentional, but there's no other conclusion you can come to when you look at what happened there. But they try to destroy Russ's business. And not only that, they are trying to develop some property in Byron Center. And what they're trying to do is change the zoning requirements, the zoning master plan, in order to allow high density housing. Well, why would we do this? It means that the developers come in, bam, put their crap into our area, and then the citizens have to pay for all of the infrastructure development. These places, they don't pay for it. They don't add anything to tax roll. So we're going to go over that and show people how to fight that. But we're going to start off this morning with Mr. Tater. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great.
Good.
As usual.
As usual, you're always good. And we're both part of the Constitution Party in Michigan, the U.S. Taxpayers Party. We have our convention on July 27th up in Gladwin at Lost Arrow Resort, and I would like to invite everyone to come and join us there and just kind of get to know people, because the people that show up there truly are probably very educated on the Constitution. I would say very educated and very committed to it. They're not doing it just to be politics as usual, but actually to take the nation back. And so I think that's something to keep in mind. I'll post that on my Telegram channel again later. So, and then I made a post this morning, which has kind of gone berserk on me. Where the number, somebody else grabbed it and reposted it big time, but there's 40 banks in China that just fell. And I'd like to talk about this at some point this morning, because the dynamic of why this fell, it's all tied to the real estate economy. And you know what? Hang on, because we have the same dynamics in the United States. I've been talking about this for a very long time, and how they're parking money into the real estate market. And this is going to have a bad outcome here. If you think we had a bad downturn in 2008, just wait for how this thing is going to land, because it's going to land so hard. I think people are going to be shocked, because they've been gaming the system for a long time. And when it falls, it's going to be a free fall. Banks, everything.
Long as we have the international banking cartel and the thieves running the money system, we are going to have problems. We have to get rid of the banks, international and national.
Absolutely.
And bring us back to sound money, which some of the countries are already doing.
I met a guy that is one of the founders of a bank that's I'll call it a Patriot Bank called Old Glory, and I think I'm going to have him on here too because he needs to talk about it. They really stand with patriots. From what I can see, they really stand with patriots having their own money and not participating in this nonsense that's going on across the globe. And I think that there's some really good options out there. But yet we have to go back to local control, local banking, local business, local everything, and get out of this globalist crime syndicates, extortion for money policy that's going on out there. But what they have had the audacity to buy air rights over buildings in New York City. They're buying like air rights over the city so that other buildings can't develop and block their view. The other thing that they do is a lot of these people are parking money in condominiums in these high rises, but nobody ever lives there. So they park money there. They get it designated as a low income housing by buying something in a not so nice part of town, putting them together in some sort of a corporation or such, and they claim rights for low income housing for these big, very expensive, high rise buildings, and they'll like dump millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to own some of these floors and buildings, and then they just nobody's ever in them. It's really
you know as well as I do that when the money has no backing, when they can print money as they wish, and the only people that are suffering are the people that are borrowing the money from these Federal Reserve people or the international banking cartel. They basically steal your labor because they have no vested interest in it. It's all paper. It's all phony. It's all fake. So they get this fake money, and then they buy these properties, and then they take them over. And this is all about being a fake, stealing your cash or stealing your labor based on their fake paper. And so that's what we have to stop.
This is the article that came out on it. But I mean, myself and other people have been watching this for a long time. We're all watching this, and I just want to say right now that they've been creating boogeymen all over the globe to drive the people in the United States and take us hostage. That's what this is all about. I don't really think that China's got quite as much bite as everybody thinks that it does. The same thing with Russia, because they have to have a boogeyman in order to unify the people in the United States against what is kind of a paper tiger. I'm going to say that, because the real enemy is sitting right dead set smack within our borders, and it's these people that are seated in the offices. Nobody gets in office right now unless they're playing ball, and or I should say for the last few decades, at any rate, nobody's gotten in office without being part of the crime syndicate. Now, I think there's been a change of guard recently, and we're seeing some good guys in place, or they're controlled. But if they were really talking on their own steam, you would see them all going in there just like gangbusters, and not being careful about what they say, but actually just getting in there and busting all this crime crap apart. But anyhow, over the past week, a banking catastrophe has unfolded in China, with 40 banks failing and having to be absorbed by other banks. We've already seen that in the United States. So
it's too big to fail. Remember George Bush Jr.?
Well, it happened.
Junior
Right. It happened just in the last few months, where we watched a bunch of banks close. You can go back to watching the history of that, and then being absorbed by other banks. I'm going to tell you what, this is a recipe for absolute disaster. China's banking sector is facing a full-scale crisis. In just 1 week, 40 banks disappeared, absorbed into larger institutions. China's smaller banks are struggling with bad loans and exposure to the ongoing property crisis. It has happened before. It was happening in 2008, but this thing is going to make that look like child's play. Some 3,800 such troubled institutions exist. They have 55 trillion yuan in assets of the total banking, 13% of the total banking system, and have long been mismanaged, accruing vast amounts of bad loans. This goes back, though, the core problem is the property sector recession. Our property values here are, and it's not just a recession. It's the fact that I'm going to add to it. They want to hang it on property value recession, property value, right. Well, we're balancing out right now, which I'll give you that. But what really is happening is China has been buying property in the United States and has not been occupying it. If you really looked around at what's happening in the United States, there's actually areas where nobody lives in those areas. But what they do is they buy up lots of houses in certain areas, and they'll even park abandoned cars there, or cars there, just to make it look like somebody's living there. But this is happening all over the United States. It's the same thing that they've been doing in China, but it's run under everybody's radar. But this is a huge threat to the United States. If you've got a foreign country, foreign interest in any way, shape, or form buying American land, you're selling out the country. And they're using it to leverage their failed economy there. They don't have any money. They're dead broke. And this started with what happened down in Malaysia. So, and that's been years ago that they tried to take over Malaysia by buying property. Malaysia was smarter than we were. They took the land back and said, this isn't development. This is an invasion. Clawed back all the property and sold it to their own people, the nationals there, for 5 cents on a dollar. Totally trashed China's economy. We could do the same thing here if we didn't have gutless politicians and people that would just say, we're done with this. If there's foreign ownership in any of our land, it is disappearing, and it's going to be an immediate change around. That's what needs to happen.
As long as Joey's in office and he's being controlled by the Chinese, that's going to be a tough one.
Well, it's not just him, though. That's the problem. It's him. It's the entire It's the entire legislature. It's all of them that are working for these globalists, which includes China. This is a crime syndicate. So I'm just going to sit back, because there's really, until we get somebody that's willing to do something, and we the people decide to stand up and put them in their places. We're going to need more people that decide to stop fighting over stupid stuff and fight for something instead of fighting against something. That's the critical mistake. So anyhow, well, where do you want to go from here, John?
Well, you have a problem in Byron County.
Huge.
With the public functionaries in there. And maybe we ought to take a look at that and see what we could do to at least get on track with that. For anyone that's out there, so first of all, Russ is going to be on at 11. So this is a great thing to go through before Russ is here, because we're going to talk about putting the public functionaries in Byron Township on notice. And there's several people in there. One of the guys is an attorney who always votes for the developers that to give them preference over the people of Byron Township every single time. So he's got to be getting something back to him in some way or another. There's some connection there. There's no two ways about it. And I think we should look into it and find out if there is and what those connections are, because it's totally irrational the way the vote has been going. And why would you vote for a developer who, in fact, the last one that we ran out of town, went north of town into Walker Plainfield, and they bought another property, and they did exactly what they were going to do here. They do not care about the communities. They're just there to pilfer our land. And most of them have ownership that is coming through foreign money.
That's how it works. Okay. I don't care what you say. And then they give the contracts for the building to their buddies, whether they own cement manufacturers for the foundation. Cement is a huge problem in the United States that people have no idea why. What is really the cement manufacturer is actually one of the biggest polluters. It has a huge pollution factor to it. So all the development that's going on, there's a lot of costs that we are actually paying for this, besides the disappearance of our farmland. That's one of the biggest ones. The other one is that they're saying, well, we increase the tax base. Well, if you increase the tax base by development, then your taxing policies is wrong. They just want to get more money to play with, to build more crap, to give themselves more palaces. Byron Center, I heard that we had I was listening to a conversation in a restaurant one day, and there were two realtors there, and they admitted to it. We had a $30 million overage in the township of freaking Byron Township. We have 14, 15,000 people in the township, and we had a $30 million tax overage. So what did they do? They started building projects for these schools, which are nothing more than indoctrination camps to basically groom our children. And then there's another organization in here which places teachers, and they are behind the LGBTQ child grooming agenda. And that's going to get busted open right here at some point in time on BNN also, because these entities are all involved. And then they made a big expansion or a remodel on the township hall. You know what? If somebody gave a crap about the people in the city of in the township, Byron Township, they would have done so many better things with this. And then not only that, there was a school board meeting, and they cut all the funds to the only two schools in West Michigan that have a trade school, a shop area, an area that you can learn trades and such. The one is Byron Township. The other one is Coopersville, where coincidentally I graduated from. And they cut all the funding, but wanted to put $6 million. I want you to think about this, into the programs for the arts here in Byron Township, in a township that has 15,000 residents. What in the living hell are they doing? That is so out of whack. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. And every single one of these people that has voted for this or participated in this, from the school board to the township offices, have basically, they need to be on the second plane to Gitmo. It's crazy. So anyhow, now that you've heard the backstory of this, they're all in bed with the developers and the builders. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's how they're tearing down our country. One of the biggest ways. Foreign investment. It's the money that they're putting into the housing sector, buying up land. Gates is not the only one involved in it. Look right into your townships, because your townships are sitting right there on the line with them.
Part of the problem that we have is that it's all about your public functionaries that are sitting in council, that are, how much is there for me? Yes. They're being paid off mostly somehow, maybe not with cash, maybe with other types of privileges, or maybe some sort of guarantee that they will be put back in office around the second time around. I just got a bunch of mailers from a bunch of public functionaries that are trying to get back into office. First of all, my attitude is I'm not voting for anybody that's an incumbent.
Right. Vote them all out. They've all failed.
That's right. If they had done their job originally and they were constitutional, I would consider it. But even a couple of people that have sent me documents, and I should have had one handy, but I didn't know we were going in this direction. They say that they're there to protect the democracy. And I would be, going after them. And in fact, I may email them and say, you don't even know what you're talking about, and you need to get out of office. But that is another battle. So you don't vote for those people. You understand what the democracy is and what the republic is, number one. And if they talk democracy, you don't want them there.
They're
Because
usurpers.
they
They're
don't even know
using
their
the
job.
system. And
That's
that's
right.
all they are. They're parasites using the system for their own self-enrichment. If you know, Pelosi, they like to put Pelosi and Feinstein and all these people that have gotten, you know, millions and millions of dollars in overseas accounts. Well, if you actually looked at the people that are local and see the money trail of each one of them, I'm pretty extra sure that all these people are like, oh, he's a nice person. I always love it when people say that. Oh,
Yeah,
she's a nice person. She's a nice person. You
that's
know,
right.
yeah, the road to hell is paved with nice people, but watch what
He's
they're doing.
been my neighbor for so many years, and
He
he's a
brings me
nice.
cookies.
Yeah, he brings me cookies. So
He
I
rides
gotta.
a stupid little bike around the township and shakes everybody's hand. He's a nice person, homespun person. Yeah, right.
So, if you're going to write a letter to these public functionaries, you really need to kind of put them in their place. So, as you see, and I'm not going to say that my letter to Robert Gordon, which was this letter, got him out of office, but he resigned several days after this letter hit his office. So it's a point that he probably either had a conscience or he was concerned that he might get sued or who knows what. I
So
don't know.
this is the format. So the format is from and to, regarding what it's all about, to the public functionaries. First paragraph is to basically call out their oath of office and where they are in violation of, or you could actually do one where they haven't voted on it yet and put them on notice.
That's right.
And tell them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them on notice, and I will be putting this out there. We've already got a network where I actually have a database of 14,000 people who opted in to from this area and their surrounding area a little bit, to keep an eye on this area here, because there's some really crazy stuff going on here. There's actually a lot of money in Byron Township, but it kind of goes under the radar. And there's several things. There's several things that people really aren't picking up on that's happening, which is happening in not only Byron Township, but a lot of areas. So I'm going to take this paragraph and I'm going to turn it into that we are concerned about the upcoming disregard or perceived, or what I perceive is going in this direction, and put you on notice that it's not going in that direction. We're not going to change.
Do you have a charter? Does Byron have a charter?
Yes.
Have you seen the charter?
I not enough to quote it.
You need to go through the charter and you need to find out what authority they have based on the charter. Do they have the authority to rewrite the zoning ordinances? And under what pretext do they have that authority? In other words, everything has to come from the charter. If it's not written in the charter, they don't have that authority.
Okay.
That's number one, the first place you should be looking. I'm talking to public functionaries of the state of Michigan, so I'm using the Constitution. And you can use the Constitution, but then you have to go to how many members are allowed to be on the on council, and what are their functions, and it should delineate who and what they do. And it's the what part that you want to find out. Do they have the authority to, number one, rewrite, number two, take property based on anything? They can't use eminent domain because they really don't have that authority. If you go back to Detroit under Coleman Young, Coleman Young didn't have that authority to destroy Pulltown as he did. What he did basically was he kept reducing the tax burden on the people, and the people in Pulltown said, "Hey, yeah, this is great. We're paying less taxes." But what they were doing was devaluing the property, And then when it came time to buy or take the property over through eminent domain, which he had no authority to do in the first place, he gave them pennies on the dollar because they reduced the tax burden on the public, and the public was smiling about it. But the final result was they got nothing for their property.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so this was a game that they played. Now, people are unaware of this stuff. They're not paying attention.
Well, and all the
So,
developments they
same
do
thing.
not add to the value of anyone's house. It takes away from our quality of living. We get more congested schools, we get more congested roads, we have to upgrade all of the infrastructure of both of those, plus the electrical grid, plus the water and sewer grid. All of it is not a good situation.
That's right. So you've got to go, number one, you got to go through the charter and find out what authority they have. Then you can use the charter to beat them over the head with it.
Okay.
Basically, your oath of office, because you took an oath of office to the charter, then you took an oath of office to the Constitution of Michigan and the United States, and your oath of office was to do the blank, whatever that is.
Okay.
And so that's basically where we start with this thing, that you're in violation of your oath of office. And here, in this particular case, during COVID, Whitmer was told that she was that her acts of executive order were unconstitutional, and I knew that from the Michigan Supreme Court. And of course, I put the date in when this happened. And so, if you have that kind of leverage or that kind of argument, then you add that to your letter, whatever that might be. So if you find out in their oath of office and or the charter that they don't have the authority to do that, you may find that they only are allowed 3 council members and they got 5. I mean, you may find something like that out. And that's which one of the 2 of you are the criminals, or which 2 of you are the ones that need to go to jail, that kind of thing. And you put that in the letter. So you have to do a little homework before you start writing, so you have some good background, some good legal arguments. And everything goes back to their scope of employment. What is the scope of your employment as a council member, or as a ordinance officer, or as a person that can reevaluate the properties and change the structure of Byron? Where is that written down in the document? And if it's not written down, they don't have that authority.
Okay.
That authority comes from us, and the only way we give them that authority is through a charter that we've all voted on. Now, if you find out that they have come up with some item in a charter that says that they do have that authority, then you go to the date of when that was done, and you want to know what public hearing was set up to allow that charter to be voted on in that direction. And you're going to find out that most of that was done under cover of darkness, where the 5 council members got together and said, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And they never took it to the people for a vote to change the charter or to amend the charter. So that's the kind of stuff you got to do a little homework on to find out. Then you can hold them responsible for usurping authority that they were never granted.
Okay.
Then I would be sure I would hit them over the head with Norton as much as possible. As you talked about usurpation, that's one of Norton's vocabulary, and we talk about public functionary, that's one of Norton's vocabulary. And we're going to talk about them being and if they don't have a particular position that they were granted by the charter, it would be de facto, because they did not have a de jure authority to be in that position. So that's the kind of stuff you want to look at.
Okay, I want you to go back and say usurpation of authority.
Usurpation of authority that they were never granted.
And then what was the next one?
That they are occupying an office that is a de facto office because it's not written in the charter, and they are not de jure, which means constitutional and lawful. And you don't have to spell out what these words mean. If they don't know, they better look them up.
Okay.
And if they are in a de facto office, you cannot create a de facto office. That's Norton. Cannot create a de facto office. So if they don't have, if they're not in the charter, they are in some sort of a de facto office that was created within their council, and they have no authority to be there. And they're actually stealing money, creating fraud, because they're taking money that they have no authority to take, that they have no legal right to, and so you get them in a kind of a soup of problems with all kinds of stuff. But you got to find out what the charter says, and I don't know. So
okay, so
now,
that's it.
One more point.
Okay.
What if you don't have a charter?
I don't know. What if we don't have a charter?
Then none of those people are legitimate. They are all de facto. They are all usurpation. They are all usurpers. They are usurping authority they were never granted because they have no charter. And there are certain townships and or cities that do not have charters. So
and if they have no charters, then they're an illegitimate board.
They're an illegitimate board. Exactly.
And may not make any. Says Byron Township and Gaines Charter Township. So I don't know. Let me see.
The word charter township doesn't mean anything if they don't have a charter.
Okay. Well, let me see. I'm going to look it up here, see if we can find something. None of these organizations make things easy to find.
No, they don't.
It's kind of
they don't. They try to hide as much as they can. Another point,
the
a lot of
Township Board and Planning Commission will be holding public hearings in the next couple of months for changing the master plan, because that's how these illegitimate bastards ruin our township and our cities right there. They're all of them. Absolutely, they're guilty. They're guilty. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, well, if they're going to hold a public hearing, then you got to be at that public hearing with whoever you can take with you there.
I think we've got thousands of people on the list here that, let's see, we've got, I'll find out. You know what? I'm going to call them as soon as I get offline. I'm going to call them or go down there. Unfortunately, I'm going to need some help because I've got a packed schedule. It's crazy. Let's see. We've got Silver Jewel. What developments in Byron Center are you against? When you say votes in favor of developers over the people, please explain. In general, developing is good, and yes, Byron has expanded and grown exponentially for the last 30 years. No, it's not necessarily good. Look at the financials to it and the cost. All it does is it promotes bigger government when they develop and they have this out of control. Look what happened in Kentwood. Kentwood's nickname is Rentwood because they have such high density. Nobody goes in there to live there like they would say in Ada or Byron Township or Cascade, because they don't have the runaway development. And unless we protect our cities from this, you have this runaway development and cramming people in high density housing. Nobody wants that. We don't mind having responsible development. That's not it. But what they're doing is changing the master plan in order to really really. Okay, so listen to this. Okay, for example, the property behind our 10-acre property once belonged to D-Mank's new owner's been trying to get a neighborhood approved to build housing several years now, and it's not been approved. Yeah, and I think I know what you're talking about there, and it's the reason is the density was too high. And it's across from, listen to this, it's across from an elementary school, and it would also help our business. You just admitted that they're in it for their own self-gain right there. That's exactly that said. It was Jenny Rodriguez, and Jenny Rodriguez just admitted to, when you said it, Jenny, it would also help our business. Okay.
Keep in mind that the deep state,
for themselves.
Keep in mind that the deep state, those people that are trying to gain control of the world and of you and turn you into a slave, those people want the 15-minute cities. And what is a 15-minute city? We got to go in that direction. What is that 15-minute city? That's where everything is within that city limits. In other words, your housing, your food, your whatever, your cultural activities, so you don't have to leave the 15-minute city. So what's the benefit of that? I can't think of any benefit.
There's no benefit. And the last statement right there is it's across from an elementary school. It would also help our business. All right. So we're going to trade out ourself, wanting to enrich ourselves by changing something that it just brings high density housing. They want high density housing because they've got more people to make more money off of it. It has nothing to do with quality of life. Nothing. Zero.
Where are all these people coming from?
Hell, I don't know. It's like, clearly.
Well, are they part of the aliens coming in?
I don't know. Illegal? But they keep wanting to do a refugee resettlement here too. That's what this is, part of it is about. And when you look at the developers around it, Samaritas has got land here. They're doing the same thing that Catholic Charities and Lutheran Services and Bethany Christian Services, they're all doing this. When you start moving people around for money and you're paying them with our tax dollars to be in places, it's human trafficking, people. That's what it is. That's what it looks like. We covered this yesterday. This is not a new subject. And but it always comes back to that. It always has something to do with not protecting things, but a something where they want something that's their own for their own self-interest and self-gain. This is why our entire country is screwed up right there in a nutshell. That's exactly why the country's screwed up. Comes down to me, material. Unbelievable. So anyhow, let's go back to the thing and put them on notice, so that we can maybe get somebody who actually gives a crap about the nation and it's not for their own pocketbook. That would be real refreshing.
As you see,
I can't believe people would admit to that openly. Honestly, I can't even believe that somebody would actually write that and admit that openly. Unbelievable. So that's exactly what all the politicians have been doing all the way along. When you look at what Gates says, oh, we're going to buy land. It's going to benefit our business. Really? Let's take a look at the reality of what happens to the neighbors and the communities around us. So
that's right.
Yeah, if I had fire coming out of my eyes, if it were possible, it'd be coming out of my eyes now. So anyhow, might have to find out what that business is. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because yep, and see if there's any other connections there with people sitting in seats, because that's what we need to look for, people.
The next paragraph of this letter that I wrote talks about the Department of Health and Human Services has no legal basis of authority to even exist because the Michigan Constitution provisions in the department have not been created. Norton versus Shelby County, an unconstitutional act is not a law. So the Department of MDHHS is a rogue department operating without any de jure constitutional authority, with people occupying a de facto office being created by an unlawful act, and therefore the office does not exist. And then I go further on to say, and this is how you want to attack that. Do they have legitimate authority to exist and to do what they're doing? MDHHS is therefore exercising authority which could never have been delegated to you, nor to Governor Whitmer under the present Michigan Constitution of 1963. All the lockdowns, the masks, and so on and so forth, and you can put in, all of the usurpation of trying to readjust the property and so on and so forth, change the property over, is a usurpation, act of usurpation. By the way,
it's a direct attack on the property owners that are here, because it lowers their value of their property when you put low density housing in. So we can have Jennifer Rodriguez here talking about that she's got a business across from this and it would help their business to have the extra housing. I don't know what your business is, and I just don't care right now. You don't trade out self-gain for putting a community in a disadvantaged things because every time they put high density housing in, it absolutely trashes the value of the properties around it. And this is what we've been fighting here, is these developers that come in here like a stray dog to come in and crap in our yard and leave us with their messes to clean up because they don't pay for anything else. They walk out for the profit with a profit, and they expect us to increase our police, fire, roads, the taxes go up and everything. It's crazy. It doesn't add to our value. All it does is hurts everybody in the community because these people are freaking morons. They do not know how to actually run something that has a proper, in a proper way where it's win-win for everybody. So they just like, hell with all of you. We're going to do whatever we want. We're going to put high density in. We don't give a crap if it tanks your property values. That's what's going on here. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, and in fact, Ms. Rodriguez needs to, if she really thinks that improving or finding an area where it would be better for her to have high density areas, there are high density areas. Why doesn't she move her business?
Yeah.
If that's
because,
the case.
The arguments are always really interesting that they put that the people that propose this put out there. Oh, you just don't want this kind of person or that kind of person in this area. They turned it into a social thing. I'm like, well, you can't say that I'm racist.
Exactly.
I've got a black Indian child, so let's see how that works. I'll come with my daughter on my hip there or something like that. Because and I usually ask them, I'm like, you got a kid in your house that you take care of? That's a different race? No, usually not. They're just trying to shame people into that. It's a proper business protocol. It comes down to money and whether it's a benefit to everyone or just a few. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like she's like, okay, yeah, right, Kentwood, yuck. Yeah, we don't want this to turn into Kentwood or Detroit. Look at what happened to Detroit with runaway development and such. They're parasites. They eat things up. Then when they're done with it, they leave it. Look at Rivertown Mall in the area. It's a crap mall right now. You can't even park in the parking structure. I fought this when it came in, and we fought all the high density housing around it, and we did pretty good keeping that out, right? And so, she said, we own a landscape business and we'll be bark and stone yard. So they would benefit off of development. That's not an okay thing to do. That is not
if they have landscape company, they're not confined to that area.
No, and not only that,
it's company, they work all over the state. They work in any city, in any town.
There's not a shortage of housing. That is a misnomer that I've heard over and over again. That's not true. And so that is not true. That's what they tell us. It's expensive here because of shortages, because they want to drop the property values. That's exactly what they're doing. And it's a landscape.
The shortages are because we're influxing millions of illegal aliens. What are we doing?
There you go.
Who's going to occupy those houses or those high density rent buildings? Who's going to occupy those?
Well, and then she just said lots of people are coming from Wyoming because they screwed Wyoming up with high density housing, which is what they want to put up out here. It's totally irresponsible, totally. And came from Kentwood. Yeah, the cities around us that are trashed. Keep going. You're making a great case for why this is a really bad idea. Really bad idea. And it's all about self-enrichment, self-gain. Drop the property value so that the owners that are here now actually lose money, so that people that come in end up eating up what we've invested in the area. They want to come here and play ball with us. That's fine. But if they change this master plan, it's going to be like they could slam in 11,000, 20,000 apartments in your backyard. Once they change the constraint, it's just like changing the Constitution. It's a free for all. You have no idea what you're opening the door up to. So,
by the way, the landscaping company is going to be benefiting by a bunch of low-income people coming in.
They'll benefit from the development, high density development. Yes, listen to this. People move from Wyoming and Kentwood to live in a better town. Yes, all of us deserve to live here over being stuck in Wyoming. Why don't they fix Wyoming? Why? This is another problem I have. Why is it that people leave an area instead of stand and take office and fight it? Because they don't give a crap. It's all for their own self-gain. So you're going to let them move here, just like all the illegals moving into the country, and turn us into what they're leaving. Instead of maintaining this as an area, they can move in, and anybody can move here that wants to. But I don't see the benefit of destroying this and turning it into what they're leaving. And turning it, that's why they're leaving. That's why they want to leave these towns, because they've been trashed.
That's right.
High crime rates, too high density of housing. And once you're stuck with it, the people that start this, it's like the Rivertown Mall over here. You can't park in the parking structure. They can't keep anchor stores in there now. It's got the parking garage and all of the parking area around it has got grass growing up in the cracks, because they can't even maintain what they built. This is the problem with irresponsible developers. Do you want that in your backyard? I didn't want it then. I knew it was going to happen, because that's how they work. If you look at the history, they always do the same thing. And now they want to do it here. So, sorry, I digress. Let's go back to this. I'm going to continue to beat a dead horse on this, because they want to come in for their own gain, or trying to shame us and saying, but these poor people want to move here, and we need to keep the property values down so that we're going to slam in housing so that they can all live here, and turn it into the high density housing with thousands and thousands added to the schools and the roads. We don't have the infrastructure for it. And having increased police, fire, all of that. You really want this? This isn't about politics. This is about small town people getting access to better schools. No, it isn't. It's people that are leaving high density areas because this is nuts to turn this into what.
Better schools don't exist in Michigan. Better schools don't exist in the United States.
Yeah,
because 90% of them are woke.
Homeschool your kids. Schools are crap.
Did you see the last article written, and I should have wrote it down, by the Department of Education woman? She spelled a couple words wrong when she was doing an article, and I don't have the article. I wish I would have. Maybe I'll find it and bring it to the meeting next week. The problem that we're having is that we have too many people coming in called illegals, and that's all they are. They're illegals. They have no authority, no ability to be here. What would happen if they turned this around and gave the high density go ahead, and Trump gets into office, which he will do, and he deports all of these illegal aliens? You're going to end up with a bunch of buildings that are going to be vacant, because there's not going to be enough people to occupy them.
Well, what they do is they just build and build and leave what they had. It's like Detroit. Detroit is a disaster. And this was by businesses and politicians that destroyed Detroit. There's so much vacant property there. Did they clean up their mess? No. They walk away from it and they make the state or the citizens clean up their mess. There's only 500,000 people in Detroit.
I wonder why, because there used to be millions.
They all leave because they're doing exactly what they're doing here is they just keep moving out, consume, and leave their junk there. How many buildings are just destroyed there and are absolutely not usable because they haven't been maintained? There's no structural integrity and nobody wants to touch it because it's too expensive to tear it down. You can't even deal with it. So they completely destroyed the ground.
You can't even, I was a builder at one point in my life, and I was trying to rehab stuff in Detroit, and the expense and the permits that you had to take out and the police or ordinance officers that followed this made life very difficult. I don't build or work in Detroit anymore. I used to a couple of times and rehabbed a couple of houses, and it was prohibitive by the government because the government was trying to gain as much money as they can when their population is leaving. And so, it'll take a few years, and maybe the landscaping company will make a couple of $1 million in the next 5 years or so, but it'll fail over time. And that's the problem, because Detroit has failed over time.
Abysmally.
Yes, and they lose population, they lose their income base, but they still have the infrastructure of the high taxes of the income tax in Detroit, of the property tax, and they still have the local government trying to squeeze more and more money out of people. So this is a problem.
Look what they did, and it becomes a money laundering center for the global crime syndicate. This is what this is all about. And so when we had the unlawful COVID crap going on, where it was about really they were moving so much money around and retooling the United States. You're giving the preference to the corporations, they destroyed local business. It was the politicians that absolutely destroyed local business by allowing like Home Depot and all these big box stores to keep their doors open and funneling everybody through one door to keep us safe and separated, right?
Yes.
And it is such a low IQ situation. It's not even funny. And it's like, it's hard for people to find reasonable price for rent. No, it's not. The market dictates what the rent is, no matter where you are. And that's just the way it is. If people in any situation, I was a poor kid, I was really poor. You can work your way out of anything, and you don't have to be handed something as pity money. And I would, that's what it comes down to. I'm not okay with the whole pity money going to people. We need to get people off the dole and have them work for what they get. If no one is for self-gain, we should all stay in Wyoming and not move here to build. Okay, we've got definitely somebody who's a political operative talking here. So at any rate, we should all stay in Wyoming and not move here to build. Well,
why don't they stay in Wyoming?
Yeah, why don't they do that?
Have them answer that.
I guess that's easy for Rich to say, stay in Wyoming and stay poor. That's not what I'm saying. I was a poor kid. I'm not a billionaire, but I actually work my ass off to have anything that I have. And it's against people who want to have this pity everybody policy out there for self-gain that's wrecked the United States.
So moving to Byron's going to make them wealthy?
Yeah, that's what she's saying right here. So
is that what it is? Just moving?
Stay in Wyoming and stay poor. So yeah, they're going to move to Byron Center, and they're all of a sudden going to be rich by moving. Okay, we're not dealing with the top brass here. So at any rate,
not with much brains anyway.
No, not seriously.
If they don't understand the master plan of the international globalists, they really need to do some homework, because international globalists want to put us all in 15-minute cities and want to be in control of our money system. They want centralized banking. They want to control your money digitally so they can take control over who you are, where you go, and what you eat. They want you to all have electric cars so you can't travel anywhere. except is the distance, because they have no infrastructure to take care of the electric cars. And if they're talking about polluting the country, what about the batteries that they can't figure out what to do with? Those are high pollution items. In fact, the electric cars, some of them in the heat will turn into fire, and that's your electric car going up in flames. And if you haven't seen that, then you really have your blinders on and you're not paying attention to what's going on. You really need to pay attention, because this is your life, and not only your life, because it may not happen in your life if you're up in age, but it's going to happen to your kids, and it's going to happen to their generation. They're going to lose the freedom that you now have, that you are losing yourself, and you don't even know you're losing it. Why don't you know you're losing it? Well, you're paying a high income tax, which you shouldn't be paying in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying an income tax to a banking system that has to have an income tax in order to print money, so the government can spend $1 billion and say, well, we don't know where that money went. And there's a lot of government agencies that have been pulling this crap over the public's eyes, and the public just, and I'm not saying the public, but people like that are writing these kinds of nonsense to you, don't see it. Open your eyes.
Yeah. It's like, but they can't see it because it's all about them, and they're
it's not even about them. It's about somebody else telling them. They're listening to CNN and MSNBC and Fox
the
News.
Globalist agenda is what it is. Here, I'm going to post this chat. This is interesting and proves out everything that I've been saying, people. This is what this is all about. And I'm just going to post it. This sounds great. I love it that everything here is live. So that's always interesting to me. Hang on a minute. Let me grab where I left off here. See what I did. All right. Keep talking, John.
Understand that these public functionaries that are sitting in office right now are not immune from a lawsuit personally.
No, because we can sue them pro se.
And that's right. And you need to sue them individually, and you need to let them know that this is fraud that they're creating. They don't like that word fraud. Even in court, when you file a lawsuit against somebody and you call it fraud, they're afraid of that, because fraud is criminal. Just like usurpation of authority is criminal. It's not overreach. It's usurpation. It's criminal. They are violating a sacred oath of office, and they need to be held accountable for that. And so when you use the word usurpation, you're actually using a criminal word that they can be held liable for. And so that's the way we need to go. They're not overreaching authority. They're usurping authority. In fact, if you go to the Black's Law Dictionary, look up the words overreach. It doesn't exist.
Okay, this has gotten even better in ridiculousness. It's like property values are far from down. Come on. Oh, she's doing a Biden. Come on. So she's talking Biden. For over 5 years, housing values are way overpriced, selling hundreds of thousands more over what they're worth. Actual value and what they are worth is not even close. Look at the stats. Young people, here we go. Young people live with their parents until they're 30. Stats more than ever.
Right there.
Yeah, I know. Wait, let me finish this. Stats more than ever due to overinflated housing. Let's look at Bidenomics with the inflation. And I don't know how to answer this, but I feel like you're shaming low class for wanting to improve their living situation and building a living for themselves. Let me tell you what. I was poor when I was younger. I put myself through college, left home at 17 years old. I bought a little tiny house. We bought a little tiny house in a not so nice neighborhood in Grand Rapids. And we fixed that house up and left it in much better shape than what we were there. And then we bought another house and we worked our way up. we didn't just all of a sudden, bammo, had all of our hopes and dreams. We worked for it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And you can't say shaming. I was never ashamed of being poor. And I mean, I was poor. And so, it's like, this is ridiculous. I'll leave it there so as not to argue with you, and maybe things for me to learn. I'm sure you could teach me some things that expand my perspective, not an easy conversation by message. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. Okay. So that's interesting. And I do appreciate you saying that, because this is part of the problem that we have out there, is that people don't understand the underlying dynamics or the economics in that have been plaguing this nation from forever, and unfortunately it's playing out in our small towns, but I digress. So anyhow.
Okay. And you're going to kick me off the air in a minute, but I got to
they're not here right now. So it says, oh, wait a minute. It's like, Dawn, can you email the link over here? Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can get Sheriff Mack on here a minute, but you're stuck with me right now for a minute.
Let me address inflation.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's pretend there's an island and there's 5 people on the island, and one person has the ability to print money. So what happens is, as we first get on the island, all 5 of us have the same amount of money, and I exchange my dollar for a chicken, and somebody exchanges that chicken for a cow or whatever, and the barter system or the expense works properly. The money system, which is the blood of the economy, works properly. Everybody has a dollar, and they take care of the needs of the people. What happens if I'm sitting there and I can print money, so I'm going to now print $2. So what happens that I now have the dollar, and I don't have to produce as much because I only have I have $2 instead of $1. Mm-hmm. So I produce less. And now somebody comes to me and they want to buy a chicken or whatever, I can charge them more because I have the power to pay more money. And now that poor person that has to work for it only has $1, so they can only buy a little less. Now I decide that, I can print $1. Let's print $4. So now I can work a quarter of the time that I worked before, mm-hmm. and everybody has to pay 4 times as much to get what I'm willing to give them, because the $1 that no longer exists, it's now $4. This is how the federal government's doing it. They're printing money like it's going out of style.
Yep.
We're printing billions of dollars that are being dumped into the economy. And what happens now? The price of that house is not because the value of the house has gone up. It's because the value of the money has gone down.
Yeah.
It's because of economics and the failure system of the international banking cartel.
And whose fault is it? Whose fault is this?
Well,
it's the American people's fault. And you want to know why I'll say it's the American people's fault? Because we have the power. We need to take back that power. Her last comment is, the economic system is not the same as 30 to 40 years ago. Massively different. Kids now face
why?
Yes, they do.
Because
why?
40 years ago, we had silver backing our money system.
Yep.
And they couldn't inflate.
We also voted in people that actually were good people and did our own research and didn't sit here in stupid land full time, listening to what the politicians and the news media tells us to do and think.
I do not know how old this lady is, but when Eisenhower wanted to increase the money system, he had to go to the people and say, we're going to now cause silver or cause gold to be worth $35 per ounce of gold, because before that time an ounce of gold was worth $1 or $20 or whatever it was. Eisenhower had to go to the people and get the people to agree to increase the price of gold to $35. And of course Nixon said, hey, we don't have to pay in gold anymore, we're just going to take gold out of the system, so now we can spend anything we want. We're going to use what we call petrodollars. Learn your history. This is what's been going on to us for years. Roosevelt took gold out of the system way back in 33, causing an inflationary system. And now we have no backing by the banking system. It's all just printed. Oh, they need more money, they just turn on the printing press. And consequently, you who have to pay the piper, which is through taxes and through inflation, which is a tax, by the way, inflation is a tax. You are paying because you have to pay more for your house, more for your food, more for your gas, because it's inflated. It's not that the value of the gas has gone up. It's the value of the dollar has gone down.
Okay, John, my next guest is there, so we're going to have to move on here a little bit because you and I could go on for hours, and I get it. But I'm sorry, I'll have a discussion with people, but I'm not going to have these low IQ discussions based on pitying people. This is not happening with Donna Brandenburg. That's how one of the ways they've taken us hostage. Oh, you should feel sorry. They need to have a special favor. Well, how can you tell me that you believe that we're all equal if we're treating people with special favors or doing special things for people that not everybody has the same benefit for? And that's the problem. This has
never been the role of government.
Not in the role of government. It's like everybody has equal chance to succeed in the United States of America. We still have that equal chance to succeed. And, and it's not through getting government handouts or at the expense of somebody else paying your way. It's putting your back against something and working until you break through. And that's how you have any success. You are only, if you're getting money from somebody, there's always strings attached to that. They will never give you true success because that's not the interest. So anyhow, real quick, you've got 10 seconds. How'd they get a hold of you?
Call me 734-968-4715 or write me at jtater2@yahoo.com. We're on Wednesday night and our Zoom meeting, and we are going to be meeting at Nicola's on the 24th of July.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tater. And I will see you next week on Tatar Tuesday. Thank you for the going through this thing, because this is where the fight is going, is in our local politics. It can't be overlooked. So everybody get involved, get educated on how to hold people accountable, and tell them, instruct them on what they are going to have to do to fulfill their oath of office. We'll be right back. Welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 9th day of July, 2024, and I want to welcome my next guest on, Sheriff. Oh, here we go. Hang on a minute. Sheriff Mack, how you doing?
Doing really well today, Donna. Thank you so much for having me. It's a beautiful morning here in Arizona, but it won't last for but maybe another hour.
Going to be pretty hot there today?
It's going to be really hot today, yes. And I've actually tried to go golfing out in this weather a couple of times, and I never make it through. But it's really nice to be on the golf course where nobody else is in your way. So I do enjoy that part, but it's too hot. I grew up in Arizona, and I keep asking my wife, how'd we do it? She goes, we went swimming every day. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So, well, it's nice to have you on today. I'd like you to introduce yourself to everyone, and so that everybody can get to know you a little bit. And I got to tell you, it was quite an honor for me to meet you at John Rich's. And Yeah. And I was telling everybody that you handed me a pen, a sheriff's pen, and asked me to pin John Rich. And that was quite an honor. I thank you for that. And I kind of
Well,
wish we would have had more time to talk, but the entertainment was there and was good. And so it was good. So now we
I
can.
remember doing that with you. Yes, yeah, that was well, it was a very memorable time being in his home. So
Yeah, that's quite something. And you know what? There's a lot of people we meet when we're at political events or events to try to take the nation back. And there's that I was very struck by how authentic John Rich was. Just
oh
just
yeah,
a
very
very
very much so.
authentic person.
Yes.
And very much like him personally. He's just one of these guys that you feel like you're sitting there talking to him, and it's like, wow, just sit down with a brother here, just for real. And I felt the same thing about you. It was a very nice night.
Well, thank you, and just logistically, am I on to the bottom of the hour because I have another appointment at the bottom of the hour?
Oh, I have you on until 11 o'clock.
Oh no! Oh gosh. Well,
So,
how about if I split that with you then?
yeah, well, let's see what we can do. And so
All right,
yeah.
because I've been getting bombarded with them, and my wife had me kind of double scheduled right now, and
Okay.
so anyway, but we'll do the best we can, and I'll give you my best stuff.
There you go. I love it. So introduce yourself real quick to everybody so they know a little bit about your background, and then we can get into the office of the sheriff and what's actually going on in the United States.
Well, thanks for showing the website. That's what I want everybody to go to that website. Everybody in the country should be going to our website. I keep 2 little booklets with me everywhere I go. Of course, the Constitution, and this is a copy of my Supreme Court decision, and it fits. Both of them fit in your pocket. And when you look at this up on our website, this is the best book you could have. I've written 7 or 8 books. They're all on my website, CSPOA.org. But this is the most important. This is a review. You're talking about who I am. This is who I am. I became the first sheriff in American history to launch a major lawsuit against the federal government back in 1994. And 6 other sheriffs joined me in the lawsuit. Sheriff Prince, Printz, Sheriff Prince from Montana, and I ended up at the Supreme Court together in December of 1996. And we won in June of 1997. So we just passed the 27th anniversary of this case. And I've been doing everything I can ever since then to get this out to the American people, because it's the most ignored Supreme Court case in the history of our country. And Congress and the White House and Washington, D.C. violate it every day. And so this is why this is so powerful, because it was such a miracle. I mean, I never thought this would get to the Supreme Court. All I wanted was to be sheriff. And this cost me my 3rd election. And so when the decision victory came out, I was actually teaching high school because I had lost my 3rd election bid. And the people in my county said, he's wasting his time. He's not going to go to the Supreme Court. He's going to lose anyway if he does. And it went through the district court, circuit court, and Supreme Court. And we did have some bumps along the way, and we had some losses, and we had some victories. And then we had a victory at the U.S. Supreme Court. So I started my police career back in 1979. I worked my way up to from patrol officer to undercover narcotics officer, school resource officer, detective, sergeant, patrol sergeant. And I did just about everything in law enforcement imaginable. And then in 1988, I moved home and ran for sheriff in my hometown near where I'm at right now. I'm in Maricopa County right now, and I'm really campaigning for Jerry Sheridan to be sheriff of Maricopa County. And everyone needs to get behind him all across the country. He needs our financial support, and he's a fantastic man and a good sheriff. He was the undersheriff under Joe Arpaio for about 8 years. And this is a good man who will stand for freedom and stand for our Constitution and keep his oath of office. And that's what I tried to do when I was in law enforcement and when I was sheriff. And Really, the only reason that you and I are speaking right now, though, is because of this lawsuit. And I will tell you that we just saw recently the end term of this year for the United States Supreme Court. I don't know if you saw on the news, but they saved the most important cases for the last day. And that's what CBS News told me way back in 1997. They said, we want to have you in Tucson. They put me in a hotel. They said, your decision will be coming out Friday, because they called me on Thursday. I said, how do you know? And they said, they saved the best cases for last, and tomorrow's the last day. And so your decision didn't come out today, so it's coming out tomorrow. And I didn't know that was their last day, but it was. This is the most important and most powerful 10th Amendment, state sovereignty, states' rights, local autonomy case in the history of our country. And Scalia wrote the decision for the majority, and he introduced the case this way. This case regarding the CLEOs, he called us the CLEOs, and that's Chief Law Enforcement Officer. We've been trying to tell people all across the country that the Chief Law Enforcement Officer is indeed your sheriff, and that's just the way it is. He is the only elected sheriff or law enforcement officer. The sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer. He reports directly to the people. He doesn't answer to a bureaucrat. He's not a bureaucrat. He's a servant of the people and answers only to them. And that's why this is so powerful and so unique. So there you go.
Can you summarize our reader or give us a summary of the case and the critical components of it?
Very good. Yes. So first, Scalia said in his introduction that he's going to take us through a history lesson, that this must be sought. Our challenge from the CLEOs, the sheriffs, must be sought in historical understanding and perspective. And so that's what you need to know. That's what he did. He didn't try to come up with anything new. He quotes the Federalist Papers. He quotes the Constitution. He quotes the founders. Of course, if you're quoting the Federalist Papers, you have to be quoting the founders. And so in his first major quote in this decision, and this is the highlights. I studied the case over and over, and I put the most important parts in this.
Where is this on your web? Is this on your website somewhere? Is there a place I can click on it, or is there?
Yes, it's shop. I think it's shop or menu, and then menu go to shop. But then on shop, you look for the buy the books, and it's all there.
Okay, at the store, and I want to see what you have here.
So,
I'm not seeing it on there. So, but sometimes I can't find things when we're on. No, that's okay.
When you really need to, yes.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things. This is real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table, and it's authentic. It'll tell you that right there. But it doesn't always. Oh, we got brochure. Let's see the brochure. 2022 brochure. I don't think that's it either. Okay, well, we'll find it and I'll post it, and at least I'll get the link.
Yes, please do.
To the website. So find you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I know it's there. It might take you a second to find it, but it's there.
Okay.
CSPOA.org, folks. That's where you can get this, and also become a member. I want everybody to understand this. This is how we stay in business. This is how the constitutional sheriff stays afloat. And yet there we are at the April 17th meeting in Las Vegas. We're planning another Save Elections and Save America, Restore Our Constitution rally with hundreds of sheriffs and hundreds of county commissioners and thousands of people coming this September 7th in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. And we invite all of you to attend. But folks, let me just put it this way to you. This is just about, and I can't tell you another one. This is just about the only peaceful and effective solution we have left. The only peaceful and effective solution we have left, and that is that we create constitutional sheriffs nationwide who interpose, who stand in the way to protect you from the criminality of the federal government. Look at all the crimes the FBI has committed. Look at all the crimes the IRS has committed. Look at the crimes the FDA has committed. putting Amish farmers in prison and destroying their farms because they don't get permission from them to exercise their religious beliefs in that they do not pasteurize their dairy products. And so they don't get the proper licenses and they don't get our permission. And they literally destroy their farms, destroy their livelihoods, destroy their families. And some of them have actually gone to jail, as if Amish people Amish farmers need to go to jail for anything. But I've worked with the Amish, and I know I can name you ones that have been destroyed. I can name you Sam Gerard, who went to prison from Bath County, Kentucky, and this crook of a judge, Danny C. Reeves, that put him in jail. Folks, we have got to take a stand. Our Constitution is dying. It is being murdered by our own government. And if we don't take drastic action and strong action now, there's going to be violence later. And this is a peaceful process to have sheriffs interpose and stand in the way and truly protect us from tyranny and from the greatest threat to our God-given constitutional American liberty, and that's our own federal government. And we've got to get sheriffs united in this, and that is exactly what we plan to do on September 7th. Folks, you can become a member of our posse so we can train you to be a member of the posse with your sheriff. So again, this is the only peaceful and effective solution we have left. And the way we are funded is through you. You become a member of our posse, then we do the trainings, webinars every Wednesday. We have it tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern time, 12:30 Pacific. And so become a part of the solution. This is the solution. And if we don't get peaceful solutions now, we're not going to have any peaceful solutions later. And that is coming very soon. In fact, Donna, what do you think? What do your viewers and your supporters here, what do you think it looks like on November 6th if Trump is the new president of the United States? He might even be doing that from prison.
What does it look like? It looks like the biggest celebration in the history of the United States that he actually is in office, and watch things being righted. I think that's what's going to happen.
There's going to be some celebration, but there's going to be a lot of people committing acts of violence too.
Perhaps. I think that, not as many as there were, because people are seeing how bad Bidenomics is, and the global crime syndicate that's basically running this country. They keep wanting to make these boogeymen out there for us, like Putin and everywhere else on the planet, so that we're not pointing the finger right back here to our own CIA crap in America. And that sort of thing. And if there is any uprising, I'm pretty extra sure it's probably part of their little Fedsurrection they got going on, and their paid agents that are there creating a distraction to try to mess the nation up. We the people are peaceful. We just want to live in peace and be left alone.
I agree with that totally. But what did Patrick Henry say? We can only judge the future, but by the past.
There you go.
Judging by the past, look what's happened the last 4 years of the violence, of the lawfare, of weaponizing the federal bureaucracies,
yes,
weaponizing the FBI. CIA has been weaponized for a long time, and the BLM violence and the Antifa violence, but man, if Trump gets back in there, believe me, I'm supporting him all the way. However, what are they going to do? What are the people going to do that have been after Trump and getting in his way and arresting him, charging him, impeaching him? It's good if he gets back in. I don't see it being too peaceful transfer of power. I just don't see that happening. And then yet, what if? Okay, let's say he loses. What does November 6th look like, especially January 20th? What does January 20th of next year look like? We're going to be looking at President Kamala Harris or President Gavin Newsom. And
or
these
Gretchen
people are going to be worse.
God help us.
Well, God help us. Yes, exactly. And so we're trying to erect the barriers now, as Madison put it, erect the barriers and create a safe place for this all to occur. Where do the people turn who are being abused by government today? Where can you turn for peace, safety, and protection. That place to turn is your sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
He's in charge of your county. He is the top executor of the law in your county, and the supreme law of the land is still the Constitution. And this is his ultimate goal and his ultimate responsibility, and that is to protect the rights and the safety of everyone in his community. Should we be joining him in that process? So a quick example of what I'm talking about. Sheriff Glenn Hamilton in New Mexico was contacted during the COVID mandates by a pastor by the name of Caleb Cooper, Pastor Cooper. And Pastor Cooper went to the sheriff and he said, I am not going to shut my church down. And I want to know what you're going to do to protect me. And Sheriff Hamilton said, if I have to go to jail myself in order to keep you open, then so be it. And so Pastor Cooper kept his church open every Sunday. The state police came in to shut him down, and they were met by Sheriff Hamilton. And he said, I have deputized every person, and he did, just about every person in there, not little children or that didn't know what was going on, but he literally deputized the pastor's congregation, and he told them, he said, this is an official sheriff's office meeting, and they will remain open, and that is by order of the Sevier County Sheriff. And so Sheriff Hamilton and Sheriff Cooper have kind of taken that on the road, and they talk about it quite often, and they did at our CSPOA event in Vegas on April 17th. And they're going to be doing it again with us on September 7th in Florida. And folks, this is the thing. Pastor Cooper did not shut down one single Sunday because of a sheriff standing in the way. Did it cause violence? No. Was it effective? Yes. And this is exactly what I want you to ask yourself now. Do you want a sheriff like that in your county? A pastor in Tampa Bay or Tampa, Florida, was arrested. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown. I've met him. I've been to his church. And he was arrested by Sheriff Chronister in Hillsborough County for having church. That's it. Just for having church. He was arrested. So now I'm asking you, which sheriff do you want in your county and in your community? The Sheriff Hamilton who will stand for your rights, or Sheriff Chronister who makes fun of the law, the supreme law of the land, and literally ignores and tramples upon freedom of religion and arrests a pastor? Now, this is a strong pastor, and he survived fine.
It's shocking. Let me ask you a question. So I talked to between a third and a half of the sheriffs in the state of Michigan when I was running for governor. I decided to call them, and I asked them a bunch of questions that I had. One of the questions was, why didn't you arrest Gretchen Whitmer for her usurpation and violation of her oath of office? And they're like, who's going to prosecute it? The prosecutors won't prosecute it. I'm just doing what I can in my little area. And I'm like, that's not the answer I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And most of them did not even know the Constitution. And I asked them about, the Constitution and the sheriff's office and that sort of thing. There was less than 4 of them that had a really good grasp on it, as per my interview from what I saw. Okay.
You're mostly correct.
Well, it was kind of pathetic, actually. I said there, what are you? We've got a bunch of Barney Fifes running around here instead of people that'll actually get in there and get her done and do what needs to be done. I mean, that was my reaction to this. It really was. I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking to Barney Fife, and he's got his one bullet, and I don't know. It was kind of bizarre, right? So,
well, I will tell you that the answer to your question is most of the sheriffs and most law enforcement have never been trained properly. And they're not trained in the Constitution. They're not trained in the significance of the oath of office or the role sheriffs literally must play in preserving our constitutional republic. They've never really got that. And CSPOA and I provide that training nationwide. And we've tried to get sheriffs to come to this. And I'm sorry, but you're correct. Most of them simply do not have the courage to step up and get to a meeting. And that's why we're trying it again this September. And we're actually going through the Florida Foundation for Freedom. This is not a CSPOA event this time. I think some of them have been turned off by us always pushing them to uphold and defend the Constitution. But there can be no true service from any sheriff if they don't know the significance of their oath. You can't just swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution and then summarily ignore it and pretend that you're doing your job. And so a lot of that pretense comes from the drug war. If they can make some drug arrests or confiscate a bunch of fentanyl or drugs, they feel like they've done their job that day. The drug war is a farce, and we in law enforcement have failed and failed miserably when you look at the goal of that we got drug dealers and drugs off the streets. We never have, and we've got to admit this failure and look for a different solution.
How about we look at our own government as the one that are trafficking the drugs into this country to fund their wars other places. And they're also using CIS and other airlines for taking kids out, recycling them and dropping them off at $10,000 a pop back to Mexico so they can come right back again. They're making huge amounts of money off of this. It's a precedent. It's been there since World War II. And once again, we need to study our history to know what's going on here, in my opinion. But so how can we hold all of those sheriffs who don't understand the oath of office? Is there a notice? Is there something that you've written up that basically people here can talk to their individual sheriffs and tell them?
Yes, really good question. First, you want to give your sheriff a copy of the Supreme Court case. Let me quote another part of the decision.
Okay.
In 1992, New York sued the federal government because the federal government wanted to make and force New York to take nuclear waste from the federal government. New York objected, said we're not your servant. We don't work for you, and we're not an enclave of the federal government. We're an independent and sovereign state. So they took it to court, and New York won. And in that decision, Scalia quoted a sentence from that decision. He said this: "We have held, however, in the New York case, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction." In other words, the federal government cannot order the states or command the states or commandeer the states. And that's what they were trying to do with the sheriffs in this case. And so then he followed up on this. How do we really protect the people if the states and the federal government both have the same goal to protect the rights of the people? Quote, and this is Federalist 51. This is in this decision right here. This is it. All this that I'm quoting is in this decision. The Mack Prince v. U.S. against the Clinton administration. I sued the Clintons and lived to tell about it.
That's amazing.
Folks, get a hold of this miracle. It's a miracle. You must get this to your sheriff. So yes, to answer your question, Donna, this is the first thing you want your sheriff to read. Secondly, get my book called The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. And that's on our website as well. So look, it's 50 pages long. You can read it while you eat a donut. That's what I keep telling all the sheriffs and police officers. Look, it's very short. You can read it in 45 minutes, and it's powerful. This is even more powerful. Okay. So you get those things to your sheriff and then get him to our training. If they will have our training, the Constitution for Law Enforcement, if they will get that training, they're well on their way to changing from statutory sheriffs and peace officers to guards of the Constitution and the protectors of liberty. That's the paradigm shift that we are causing all across America.
That it's amazing because you really, until recently, you really didn't hear much about the sheriff's office when we were younger. You know, there were some, but it seems like people are waking up to and becoming more educated. I guess that's
that wake up time happened during COVID.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And
we had about 550 sheriffs that refused to go along with it, and that's not nearly enough. That's only about Let's see, that's only about 5%. So,
how is Michigan doing on your scorecard as far as for sheriffs here?
well, you have one of the best sheriffs in the United States.
Darleaf, he's a friend of mine.
Sheriff
So-
Darleaf of Berry County. He's on our board of directors. He's solid.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that he hasn't rubbed off on more sheriffs in the state. He's up for re-election right now. We pray that he gets in. We're also working with another sheriff who's been arrested and suspended, and that's Sheriff Chris Morris in Pittsburg County, Oklahoma. Don't let Pittsburgh confusion make you think it's Pennsylvania. In Pittsburgh County, Oklahoma, he's been suspended from his job and charged criminally. And they said, well, if you'll take a minor misdemeanor and resign, then we'll let it all go. Folks, they're trying to get rid of this good man. And amazingly enough, the miracle happened. Right after he was charged and right after he was suspended, he won the primary election in the Republican Party in a landslide. He's now going to be the next sheriff, but if he's charged with a felony, he can't. So he has to take this to court. We're helping him. Folks, we're saving America county by county and state by state, one good sheriff at a time. We need more sheriffs. We need you to do exactly what Donna did. Talk to your sheriff. Ask him if he's a constitutional. Ask him if he'll protect you from gun confiscation when the federal government comes in to take our guns. You don't think that's coming next, especially with the next president? Kamala Harris, you don't think she'll do that? Gavin Newsom, you don't think she'll do that? If Biden stays in, you don't think his administration's going to do that? Won't be him. But folks, I'm telling you, how could the Constitution take another blow from the left in our country? It's already on its deathbed. Our Constitution, which is the foundation of our country, is dying. And we must do something this year, and we must get the sheriffs united in this holy cause. And we cannot do it without you. We must have you all with us and on board.
Yeah, everybody's got to get in the game on this for sure. I'm really interested in. I think I'm going to join this. There's a lot of times I'll be out and people show me stuff and I'm always, well, I'll take a look at it. But I think I'm really going to join this, and I'll join it today because I think this is important.
Well, we have a special for the Spirit of 76. It's $76 for 1 year. Usually it's $11 a month. So for 1 year, it's just $76. And then we will make you part of this. And we absolutely need you. The CSPOA posse is the answer and the solution. And it's peaceful, folks. There's very, very, very few peaceful answers and peaceful solutions. And we must do this while we can keep it peaceful. My heavens, folks, if somebody's handing you a peaceful solution, grab it. Somebody could show me another one. I'm telling you, Donna, this is my commitment to you. If somebody shows me another peaceful solution, I will grab it. But this is the only one I've seen. I've been a part of this now for 20, 25 years. And believe me, I totally mean that. Do I hope Trump gets back in? Yes. But again, what will the future look like with Trump in there? Any different than when it was the first? They're going to try to destroy him. They're going to keep trying to destroy our country. And we must stop this. We must stand with whomever in public office will stand with us. We'll stand with the Constitution. We must take this to the next level. This case says, Federalist 51, hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. Folks, that's our job. We are the different governments. The sheriffs, the counties, the cities, the states must stand in the way and keep the federal government in its proper lane of authority, which is very limited.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people are coming around to understanding that the Constitution is there to constrain government. And I know you've got to go, don't you?
I do, and they're calling me.
You're getting poked there to get
Okay,
on
I'm
something
here.
else. So
Okay, yes. So anyway, I apologize. I will come back.
yeah,
I'll do
that'd
it
be
for,
great.
I'll do it for free.
That's great. You're doing it for free now. So we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being on. And we'll be right back. In our third hour, Russ Voss is going to be on. I'm going to see if he can join a little bit early today. Good morning and welcome back to the third hour, a little bit early here on Brandenburg News Network. It is the 9th day of July, 2024, and our next guest is coming on, and he's going to come on a little bit early. So I thought that was really an interesting interview with Sheriff Mack, and I'm going to tell you, it was quite a night, and it was a very interesting night to be hanging out with the Patriots at John Rich's house, and truly talking about subjects that really matter, getting involved, learning the proper processes, just like we do here every day. Only it was people who have been in it for a very, very long time. So as Sheriff Mack said, Dar Leaf he's a great guy. We are really, really fortunate to have Dar Leaf in the state of Michigan. I know Dar, I consider Dar a friend. He has stood up when nobody else has to defend the state of Michigan. And that is an amazing thing when you stand and you're kind of all alone, because there really hasn't been that many other sheriffs, or if really any, that have really stepped forward when things were falling apart here in Michigan. The silence was deafening out there from pretty much a lot of people in all forms of our government as well as law enforcement. I really want to find that. I really do want to find that book he's got. I am waiting for Russ to join right now, and let's look around here and see what we can find while we're waiting for Russ. He should be here shortly. So we've got all sorts of interesting things, and let's go back and go to the menu and see what else he's got on here. Speaking engagements, webinars, interview requests, state chapter leader request, announcements, investigations, documents, brochure. Let's see if that's it. No, that wasn't it. That was when he was speaking. And the store certification course, 5G danger, EMF danger, global healing. There's all kinds of things that these guys are involved in. I'm kind of excited, but I didn't see that brochure, but I'm going to go find that. But in the meantime, I'm going to bring Russ in right now, and we'll move on to our next segment. Hey, Russ, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Doing great. It's nice to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really found that we had quite a row going on here in the first hour of Brandenburg News Network, because somebody decided to come on and try to convince me why we should have high density housing in Byron Township, and feel like, we should welcome everybody into the destruction of our own town. Now, I'm not against welcoming people in, but I am against destroying our town by destroying the infrastructure and making the current residents pay for their little money Ponzi scheme, where they run out of the township and expect us to pick up the tab for the improvements that are going to be required to happen. And so I've got some real problems with that. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to everybody about what happened in your situation, because this is a perfect example of a township group of public functionaries totally off the rails, and
Yeah.
destruction of an individual who has had a business in this area for a very long time. And so please
25
tell,
years.
what's that?
25 years we've been selling trees.
25 years. And now all of these people here have decided to launch a war on your business instead of trying to help it. Oh, but we've got to have all of these crazy other projects going on, but they're once again going after someone and damaging your business. Please tell everybody who you are, give a little introduction, and what happened to you.
My name's Russ Boss. I own Russ Boss Tree Farms in Wayland, Michigan. We're actually north of Door. We're directly between 100th Street and 142nd. We're on 146th Avenue. So I put signs out on 142nd Street, on 146th, and on 100th Street. And then when Tanger Outlet moved in, we started putting a sign over by 84th Street and Division. And all it is a simple Christmas tree sign.
So it's like a garage sale sign type of a thing. They're the small signs that everybody, that people who are local businesses and such put up, right? There you go.
Christmas trees.
Yeah.
1260 146. It doesn't have my business name. It doesn't have a phone number. And 5 days after Thanksgiving, I had to file a police report to find out where my signs went. And police reports concluded that it was Byron Township, Ronald Savings, who went around and took my signs saying that they were getting the right of way. Well, 25 years ago, we started putting signs out and they kept disappearing. Well, Kent County Road Commission took them because I put them in the right of way. If my signs were in the right of way, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you because the signs were out of the right of way. I have proof from Byron Township offices showing where the right of way is.
So they alleged that your sign was in the right of way, but they weren't in the right of way. They were on private property.
Correct.
Okay.
And we had 41 Christmas trees left over this year. We've never had that many left over. And there's been so many times people say they'd come here for a Christmas tree and say, yeah, we weren't even planning on getting a Christmas tree today, but hey, we went to Tanger Outlet, we seen your sign. And as many people are moving into Byron Township, they're it's just what they did was illegal. They took my signs, they said they were in the right of way, and I went to the township office. I said, okay, you say my signs cannot be in the right of way. What's the definition of a right of way? How far do I have to put them off? And nobody could answer my question. So that's when they told me to go to Brian from Byron Township offices. He's in the building department. And I asked him, what's the definition of a right of way? He says, well, I can't tell you, but I could show you. And he asked for what intersections where the signs were at. And he printed up papers and they show where the right of ways are. And my signs were not in the right of way. So I went and talked to Mr. Tillema. And I says, my signs were not in the right of way. And he sends me paperwork saying, signs shall not be placed in, upon, or above any public right of way, alley, or place except as may be otherwise permitted by Kent County Road Commission or Michigan Department of Transportation. I went to talk to him and his answer was, Kent County Road Commission don't run this town, I do. So then he says, after showing him that they were not in the right of way, then they start making up new ordinances. You can't advertise your business other than your place of business, which is ludicrous. There's people with signs everywhere. I mean, how many strip malls, even their attorney sent a letter finally, because my attorney sent them a letter of demand for $3,000 for the missing signs. You know, at first I wanted an apology for taking my signs and the cost of my signs. That's all I wanted. I could put my signs back out. On December 20, so this is going on for 3 weeks. December 20, Don Tillman asked me to come down to his office, and first thing he says, boy, this should have been handled a whole lot differently. I said, you think so? He said, yeah, he should have never took your signs. Or the signs were in the right of way. He kept saying that, but he should not have thrown them away. He threw them in the dumpster. So I got an estimate from Extreme Graphics for the replacement cost of my signs. It was $466. And he says, I don't care. Your signs were in the right of way. and going on and on and on and on. Right away, right away, right away, right away. Well, I have paperwork showing that they were not in the right away. And even their attorney wrote a letter trying to scare me.
That's what they do. They play that. And the attorney, there's no such thing as a license to practice law, by the way. That's a misnomer. The bar is a private club, and it is not a truly governmental organization.
But in the letter from their attorney, blah, 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 blah. They're trying to reduce clutter in the right-of-ways of Byron Township. This is from Micah Meyer's attorneys. The advertising signs in the right-of-way on property that does not belong to him. This is true throughout the township and is designed to prevent clutter in the right-of-ways of Byron Center.
Oh, this is funny, but they'll do high density housing in Byron Center. But we're gonna get rid of clutter in the right of way, but we're gonna propose high density housing in Byron
the
Center.
bank and then on these developments, the banks that have the financing for the developments, they have signs out there all over the place.
That they do.
And it's the Byron Township Board has a public comment session at every meeting. Mr. Voss knows this. And he has at least twice addressed the township board during public comment. He does not need to be placed on the agenda, which I asked for to be on the agenda for the meeting, because then it has to be written in the minutes. If it's just public comment, they don't have to record nothing. They don't have to have any record of anything that was said.
Then you're off the record. That's what it is, right, isn't it?
To be placed on the agenda in order to voice his opinions on what policies and ordinances the township should regulate or explain his individual concerns. Please be advised, however.
And ask you to leave. Sorry.
Huh?
So they can flip you off and ask you to leave with no record of what's happened, right, you know? Proverbially.
Please be advised, however, that the township is consistent with this policy on sign clutter and does not agree to your request to pay to Mr. Voss for his illegal signs. Well, on the 20th of December, that's when Don Tillema asked me to come down to his office, said everything should have been handled differently. Well, the more I thought about it, I got home that night and I called Mr. Tillema. This is on December 20. Everyone's already got a Christmas tree. I says, well, if I put my signs out this weekend, are you going to take my signs? Because he told me next year, just put your signs where you had them, because it should have been handled differently.
After they destroyed your business this year.
Yeah. And I says, well, I can't make up sales next week. Christmas is over. What am I supposed to do? I says, so next year I can put my signs out there where they were. But this year I'm screwed. He says, yeah, you're pretty much screwed this year. I went to another township meeting after that and just wanted the money for the signs and an apology. They wouldn't give me that. But saying that I can't put signs on property that I don't own, because he told me again, you can't advertise your business other than your place of business. I said, you can keep saying that all you want, but that does not make it an ordinance. You can say it all you want. So my saying now is you can't steal my property unless it's on your property. If it was in the right of way, they have every right to take it. And he also said it all started with this mattress guy. They look like they're written in crayon. They're putting signs all over the place, you know. Well, they're in the right of way, take them. My signs were not in the right of way. Now, if this gets out to where everyone knows where to put the signs not in the right of way, all the signs are going to be sitting 25 foot off the road. And there'll be a whole clump of them, and they can't do a damn thing about it.
Right.
If they're not in the right of way, and you have permission. There was one person on the board. I don't remember his name. He was, if I'm facing the stage, he was completely to the right. And because one of my signs was around the corner of 100th Street in Byron, right at Chuck's Landscape Maintenance.
Okay.
And the one guy on the board, he says, well, if it's on their property, what gives us the right?
Right. Correct. They don't have that right.
The one person on the board that was standing up for me, they shut him right down. They didn't even want him to talk. But it's just a joke. I have all the proof that they weren't in the right of way. And at the last township meeting, I got escorted out by the police because he wouldn't. I asked him, I says, you say that you can't advertise your business other than your place of business. Read it to me in the ordinances. Well, I'm not going back to my office and get paperwork. I said, well, you don't have to. I have it right here. Here's the paperwork. Read it to me. And That's when he got really irate. And that's
Okay.
when they all, oh, your 3 minutes are up. And that's when the police officer tapped me on the shoulder and says, yeah, you need to leave.
So they
she
all
thought-
violated the law with at a minimum of 3 times I'm seeing. They can't tell you can only talk for 3 minutes. That's acting like you're a subject instead of that you have jurisdiction over them and we are to instruct them. They broke the law right there. Then the police officer who escorted you out also broke the law. And it's a violation of New York Times versus Sullivan.
She says, well, let's go outside. So I went outside and she talked to me. She's like, sir, you need to find an attorney. You have a very good case right here. And then I talked to her for like 15 minutes. And then the other police officer, he came out. And I talked to both of them before the meeting because I got there early. And I says, hey, you guys got a minute? Can I talk about something? And he's like, well, who would you want to talk to, her or me? I said, law enforcement. That's who I want to talk to, law enforcement. I don't care if it's you or her. And he asked me, well, what's your goal today? I says, my goal today is to get Byron Township to pay for the signs that they threw in the dumpster and they took illegally and threw in the dumpster. And if they pay me for my signs, that admits guilt, and then I can take them to small claims court for my loss of business. And we bought 165 trees last Christmas. We usually get 200. And we usually have maybe 10 or 15 trees left. So when I added up all the Christmas trees, the wreaths, the swags, the gnomes, everything, added it all up, plus the cost of my signs, was $3,906.45. If I just took 75% of the trees and wreaths and everything, because we never self-complete all, that cost plus the signs comes to $3,046.45. That's why my attorney wrote up, we'll settle for $3,000. This will be done and over with. No, they will not admit they're wrong. And they just, they spent all their money on that castle.
Yeah, that I was talking about that earlier. They had to add on to the Byron Township offices because I heard in a conversation that there was a $30 million overage that they had to spend. Now look at all the building projects with the schools, the rampant school projects that are going on. They want to put, I think, a community pool or something like that, and the big development there, and give the preference to all these developers that want high density housing in here, while the rest of us who are living here have to pay for increased taxes to pay for the things like infrastructure. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. It's an attack on the current residents and the businesses of local businesses, and they give preferential treatment to bigger entities. They're not for small business.
Right. Well, it's like I'm in Door Township. In 2012, they put Green Valley, the fertilizer plant. They bought 95 acres around my 10-acre farm, and they flooded me out. I had to bitch with them for 3 years before they changed the water situation. Like I said, we've been here since 1998 and never had hardly any water in our basement. And as soon as Green Valley came in, 4 inches of water in my basement, we had to tear out everything that was wood or carpet or anything in the basement. And they let the big guys in because they're getting more tax money.
So they think, and that should be a wash. But you don't just sell out to foreign interests or big corporations and put your own people who are actually your voting population at risk. And unfortunately, Byron Township executed a unlawful election. It's maladministration. They used the machines. They destroyed election records before they should have, and they broke election laws, just like almost every other township, county, and city in the state of Michigan. And that's how they continue to get their little puppets right, is our failed elections. They're hacked.
There's no way Whitmer won.
There's no way most of these people won. And there's no way that the amendments passed. There's no possible way that they passed. I can't even imagine them getting the number of signatures that they needed, considering that candidates could hardly get the number of signatures needed. And so there's no way that there's no possible way. It would defy all common sense and you know, even at a first glance, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, I'm on a lawsuit that's about to be filed to remove those amendments. And I think that we're going to stand a pretty good chance at nullification. And once we go down this path, it's going to continue to roll. So, yeah, it's crazy. Well, I'm really sorry for what the elected officials, the public functionaries have done to you, your business, and to your home. Tell everybody else a little bit more information on what happened around your house. And this is a direct result of the bad decisions by the township. Because I got another one to tell you. You haven't heard this one yet.
But yeah, we're in Door. So.
Oh, you're in Door. I'm sorry. That's right. Your house is in Door there. But you want to know what they did to me here in Byron Township? They hit a tax bill. And I found out about it by junk mail coming from Kalamazoo. I got a piece of junk mail and I thought it was a joke. And I opened it up and I'm like, this is weird. I wouldn't have normally, I would have just pitched it. I thank God I didn't. It was a God thing that I actually looked at the junk mail, and it said that we were ready to be have the one property in foreclosure. And I buy property to protect it from developers. That's why I buy property. It's to protect against development. Okay. Because the only way you can really do that is if you own it. And so they're salivating over my land right now. That's true. And so at any rate, we had one of our guys that does our financials and such call down there. He called down there 3 times, and no, there's no tax bill sitting there in Byron Township. There's no tax bill there. And I'm like, there's gotta be. And I'm like, this just nagged at me. And I said, you're going to have to go down there. Will you please go down there and talk to them? He went down there. Finally, this is, I think, the 4th round at trying to get this thing figured out. The woman behind the counter goes, oh my God, it's right here.
No way.
There's no way that was not intentionally hidden in order to have somebody get their hands on my land. I will never believe it, no matter what anybody says. All you got to do is look at this with a little bit of common sense. So we went down. It was from 2022, hidden, never got a notice, never got a posting. People start showing up at my property walking around one of the buildings. And I'm like, the hell are you doing walking around my property? And that was what the other thing, it was clean, but no official notice of any type from the township, which is unlawful. That means they broke the law once again. And if they did it to me, how many other people have they done this to and put them in a false foreclosure because they themselves hid something in order to do a land grab? I'll guarantee you that's what happened here. Guaranteed. There's no other explanation for it. And so the woman behind the counter, there's a couple of them down there that are actually pretty good that I like. But when you get past, if you don't talk to those specific individuals, you got a problem. The clerk denied my FOIA. And literally when I pressed her on it about her name is Peggy. When I pressed her on why didn't you keep any records? Well, Jonathan Brader told us to. The state said we had to destroy election records. Well, then you don't have anything here. I said it's before the deadline of when you could destroy them. No, it went up to the state. Well, we've got something on a thumb drive. I said, well, what's on the thumb drive? I want to see what's on the thumb drive. Well, it's nothing on the, and then she starts fumbling back and forth. She couldn't even hold a consistent argument. And I had somebody there that was a witness to the call because I had it on speakerphone. And I'm absolutely not going to play ball with these people that can't keep their story straight and have had an attack on this nation. So I don't know. The point being is that your signs were on private property.
They had to trespass onto private property to take my property.
Yes, they did. They trespass. They don't have any rights over private property, and they have forgotten their role. They're not little kings and queens building their little palaces out there, which they're doing. They think they
can
are.
do whatever they want.
Yeah.
What's the thing? When people lie, their stories change all the time. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember. You just tell the truth over and over, and it's the same thing. But when people lie, they always say something different every time, and the story don't add up.
Well, and the problem is a lot of these small towns, like what you experienced, was kind of like Goshen moving in up into Green Township up there. When they give the preference to these large corporations to have the land, they don't give a rip about what's going on around them. They could care less. And they don't care about the businesses or the people. Well, I'm glad you're taking them to task on this. I really am. Yeah, are you seeing the?
I'm not letting up.
That's good. I hope you come to the Constitution Party meeting on July 27th. We're on the other side of the state this time, and I think it'll be a good time. We've got our presidential candidate and our vice presidential candidate. Which the strategy is, Randall Terry said, I will not be in the White House, but I will take votes away from Biden. And we will put issues in front of people that other parties refuse to put out there and have people face this usurpation that's going on in the people who hold office. That's the goal here. We are the great disruptors. And I think I'm an unapologetic supporter of President Trump, the rightful president of the United States. And I think he did a great job, and he was deprived his office, which is in fact, it's the lawful way to conduct an election, and we didn't. And pretty much none of the I don't know, we had how many counties or in precincts didn't have certified machines. That doesn't matter. We're still going to use them. Well, what happens if
more votes than voters?
Yeah, more votes than voters. We had that on yesterday with Tim Vetter and Marley Hornick. We showed the scorecard. We had it's incredible. It's undeniable, which means that every one of these clerks violated their oath of office and conducted an unlawful election. And that's
paper ballots in person with ID.
Yeah, there you go. Gotta do that. So what else is on your mind today? We got a few more minutes. Anything else on your mind?
Oh, no, just pretty much covering it. And the way they think they can scare you, this big attorney. I don't know. There's like 50, maybe 30 names on the header here.
Can you send that to me? Do you have a copy that you could email me?
I can send. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
Yeah, even text me. If you text me, I'll get it up too. So if you take a picture, text me. Okay. I can put it up on my Telegram channel. Because do
you want one from my attorney too? My attorney wrote a letter, and this is their response.
That would be great. Send them to both, and then we'll get them out there where people can see actually the source documents. That would be great.
Because now that I have this paperwork from their attorney, all it says is right away, and I can't advertise my business on property I don't own. When you drive down the highway, you see all them billboards all over. Them people don't own them; they're leasing them. And how many strip malls are in Byron Township that have signs on the front of them?
It's not their choice. The property owner has the right to decide how their property is used. They don't have jurisdiction to tell anybody that.
Just bullshit. So that's why my attorney advised me to go to small claims court, because then it's going to be me, Tillema, and a judge. He won't have his fancy attorneys there. And when the veins start sticking out of his neck, then they'll know he's lying again. he was furious at the last township meeting. That's all I can do is laugh about it now. It's water under the bridge. But I hope I get a settlement out of it.
We got a whole bunch of people right now that are going to show up at their little usurpation of power to jam, high density housing and change the entire master plan of Byron Township, which nobody really wants here. There's
too crowded already.
It's too crowded already. There's way too much. There is a lot of development that's gone in here. The only people that want to see that development are usually making money off of it, either by contracts, or they want to have the realtors want more inventory to sell. But they're always making money off these kinds of changes. And what I saw years ago was how many developers and builders and developers and construction companies are actually in positions of power, and it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Instead of having they're the ones that are making it out of reach for an average person to own, and why they're pushing people into income type houses. We got to have we do have to have all types of businesses and different housing options. I'm not saying that, but it's the irresponsibility of just chucking things and packing things in there just as tight as they can. And that's what this is all about. 15-minute cities. Let's destroy the areas and wreck all the farmland.
No.
Here's a question on Goshen. Here, I'm going to bring it up to you, okay? Because you have common sense. When Goshen was trying to build up there in Green Township over all the farmland.
Yeah.
Okay, so why didn't they go into areas of Detroit that are under condemnation and where the soil and everything's already wrecked, and level that and build it there? Why wouldn't they have just built it there? Why did they go after the farmland up there? Why did they go to destroy the areas where we grow food?
There are abandoned buildings all over the place, and they just build more, tear them down and renovate them.
Yeah, why don't they, or tear them down and build on old sites that are already contaminated with something that's going to contaminate it? Why are they contaminating new ground?
It's to take our food supply away.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to do. I mean, you look up in the sky, you can see it. All the chemtrails everywhere. We can see it in our garden. We can see stuff, spots on the leaves of those melons. I believe they're all chemtrails up there, and it's crazy. They're manipulating the weather. That big storm that came through a couple weeks ago, that's not normal.
Yeah, I had pictures of it.
Just a shelf cloud full. Bullshit.
Did you? Yeah. Well, and you can see that Tennessee wrote a law that forbid chemtrails or any spraying like that.
It's a conspiracy theory. How can you make a law against it?
Yeah, there you go.
It makes no sense.
Got to question everything. Well, thank you for being on today, Russ. This was really wonderful. And I appreciate it because, it's like what I've seen here in Byron Township has been incredibly frustrating. And there's a lot of people here that are furious, and I mean furious, with a school board which is trying to remove, their shop classes and their skill center area in there. I don't know what it's called, the technical area or something. They're trying to remove all of that, and they wanted to put $6 million into the arts and cut their shop classes in Byron Township in a community with 15,000 or so people. This is nuts. It's like I can't even get my arms around it. And so they're trying to re-engineer this entire place. And these people sitting in the seats should be absolutely shamed and run out of that office for what they've done here in this township. This is not, they aren't representative of we the people. They're representative of the developers, the builders, the people that want to come here and destroy the farmland. I don't even know why we don't have an ordinance that protects the farmland here. If we've got areas that, because that's what they always go for. They always put it into, we got to develop. We got to have it into, take residential or farmland, agricultural, and put it into industrial and all that sort of thing. Well, why aren't we doing anything to protect it? Nobody wants to talk about protecting the farmland.
Right. There's places to do that, not the farmland.
There's value there. That's not just something for the developers to come in and eat up like a bunch of parasites. Well, at any rate, I very much appreciate talking to you again. I had a great time talking to you before, and always have a good time talking to you. And you can call anytime. And if you need any help or need somebody to throw this out there on the internet in some news capacity, give me a call, because we're gonna throw this crap out here, because these people cannot continue to conduct business the way that they're doing it. They're not representative of we the people. They're representative of them and their pocketbook. So anyhow,
can I advertise my business on a place I don't own? Russ Voss Tree Farms. Russ Voss Tree Farms. 800. I do not. It's 800-200-TREE, which is 8733. And we have right now we have a bunch of small evergreens for sale for $5 up to $30.
What kind of evergreens you got for sale?
We have white pine, white spruce, Serbian spruce, and Norway spruce, and Fraser fir. Anywhere from
You know what?
$5, $30.
You know what? I'm going to come and buy some trees.
Buy 10, get one free.
Okay, so trees for sale, and it's Russ Voss Farms.
Tree farms.
Okay, Russ.
If anyone
Tree
in
Farm.
Byron Center needs a Christmas tree this following year, we're going to have some.
There
And
you
we
go.
don't
What's
do
your
this-
phone?
It's
What's your phone
800,
number?
800-200 tree.
I like your name. Okay, that's cool. And
I don't like the bill that comes with it, though, because we got to have a landline. If you have an 800 number, that shows you've been around for a while.
yeah, there you
So
go.
that's why I keep paying the bill.
I put it on my Telegram channel, which is Brandenburg 4MI. So there you go. Well, this is part of the show, boys and girls, where we go to. It's time. Well, we should say a prayer first because I'm out of order here. So I'm going to say a prayer to end the show, and then we're going to go on to our day. How's that?
Okay.
Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for walking us through all these processes that we're learning. We're learning something new every day, and we're willing to stand in front of things that probably are really harmful to a very lot of people. And it's all for the quest for greed, or the greed for power and money. And we ask that you would help us out of this situation, that we put other people first in their basic living. That we've watched the destruction of the United States of America by very greedy people who serve their own self-interest above all. And they really need to learn your processes where we serve one another. We don't try to lord over anybody. We don't try to be you, because we're not you. We're just us, and we're very flawed. And we're very thankful that you're willing to stand with us, reach out with us, and you'll never leave us nor abandon us in our quest to live a peaceful life. We truly want to live peacefully with our neighbors. We want to be in service to you in that way, and help us in everything that we do to hold the line when we see something that's wrong, but yet also notice the people around us who are in need of help and reach out to them. That doesn't mean that's a free for all. You have rules in place, and you have order in place, and we thank you for that, and how to live peacefully in our land. We've watched the globalists and the globalist agenda pilfer our state to a painful degree, and there's always emotional manipulation that goes around with us. And we ask that you would cut all ties to the emotional manipulation that's happening, and have us look at things in a very logical and a very logical process, so that we protect the rights of all people while not destroying the rights of others. We thank you so very much for walking us through this. We ask that you bless John and Sheriff Mack and Russ Voss richly, and give them your favor. Open doors for them, help people to hear. And we ask that you would write the minds of those who are in positions of power, that are public functionaries, to understand that they don't have all the rights in the world to do whatever they want. They've got it. They're filling a job. They have a job description. They have an oath of office, and they need to keep those every single time without failing, or write them if they make a mistake. They've got to step up and do the right thing. Thank you so much for loving us and always being with us. We thank you for this day ahead of us, this beautiful day, and we ask that you help us make the most of it. We love you so very much. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. So
Amen.
Now this is where we go, boys and girls, to ding, 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 go to Brandenburg for governor, because I am the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States. I'm not conceding to liars, cheats, and thieves who have stolen our election and deprived the rightful president of the United States his lawful and rightful seat in 2022. We cannot go forward before we right these criminal actions that have happened. We can't just say, oh, it doesn't matter. We're just going to keep going. Don't look back. Don't look back. No, a crime was committed, and they're going to commit another one unless we right what's been done in the past. But with that said, remember that you're precious beyond anything that we can describe or that can be put into words. Every single person, you have the right, and we're here under the highest law of the land, the Constitution, to protect your individual rights. And that's something that needs to be need to be focused on. Not just your rights, but the rights of your neighbors, the rights of all of us to live peacefully. Study the Constitution. It's all right there. And it's on its kind of like last leg in a way, because we need to have people that are willing to fight for those rights that are guaranteed by, given by God, guaranteed by the Constitution. We need to be educated on that. But with that said, remember, God bless you. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. Be a force that stands up, that doesn't go along to just get along. Be that person that says the unpopular things because it's the right thing to do, not just because you're going to gain from it. But find those workable solutions, because we tend to look at things as we either have winners or losers. We're constantly comparing ourselves to each other. Instead, what if we can all move together instead of damaging some people and just looking at the money or the material gain? There's ways of doing that. It takes a very different thought process than what we've had and what we've been taught over the past decades. And we need to remember that. Remember that the other people around you are also affected by the decisions that we all make. And there's always a win-win solution, always. We just have to be willing to look in that direction. So have a great day. Stay on the line, Russ. I'm gonna stop the broadcast and we'll talk after the fact. I wish you guys could all be privy to this, but it's got to end the party sometime. So, and we will see you tomorrow. Let's see, tomorrow I have our vice presidential candidate, Pastor Stephen Broden, on, who is a beastly fighter for sanctity of life. He's been in that fight for a very long time. And so he'll be on tomorrow. I like Stephen Broden. I like him very, very much. And good man, a lot of good things to say, great speaker. So he'll be on Liberty Essentials tomorrow. And then I'm going to have somebody else on after that, but I think it's a little bit up in flux right now, but we'll be here tomorrow. So have a great day. And remember, there's a sheriff debate on today in Macomb County for Sheriff, let's see, it's a debate. Terry McCoskey is going to be on that debate. And I ask that go ahead and look into that and hope you join him. Thank you very much. Have a great day.